All right, let's talk about something we've all thought about: trying to time the housing market. That temptation to wait for the perfect moment to buy. Everyone wants a great deal, right? But what if waiting for that deal actually costs you way more than you think? Let's dig into that. I mean, it's just human nature, isn't it? We do this with everything. We wait for Black Friday for a new TV, we track airline tickets for weeks hoping they'll drop, we try to buy stocks on the dip. We're basically trained to think that if we're just patient enough and smart enough, we can nail the timing. So, of course, we're going to try and apply that same thinking to maybe the biggest purchase of our lives: a house. But here's where we get a major reality check. There's this great quote from the legendary investor Bernard Baruch, and it's brutally honest. He basically said that trying to buy at the bottom and sell at the top, it just can't be done, unless you're a liar. And he's right. Think about all the moving parts: interest rates, market trends, your own job situation. They're all shifting constantly. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape. So, okay, this whole waiting game, it feels like the smart move, doesn't it? It feels so responsible. But this is where a lot of people fall into a trap called analysis paralysis. You get so caught up weighing every single pro and con, every interest rate hike, every news article, that you just freeze. You never actually make a move. And the crazy part, the people who get stuck in this loop are often the ones who are totally qualified and ready to buy a home right now. All right, so if being super analytical feels like you're playing it safe, what's the real risk here? What's the downside? Well, the risk isn't just some vague concept. It's not just in your head. It's in your wallet. We're talking about real, actual economic costs that pile up while you're waiting on the sidelines. And that really brings us to the whole point of what we're talking about today. See, waiting to buy a house isn't a neutral move. It's not like hitting pause on a video game. It's not a free option. For every single month that you wait, there's a hidden cost that's quietly building up in the background. And it's happening whether prices are going up, down, or just staying flat. In fact, we can actually give this hidden cost a name. We call it the sideline cost. It's basically the total financial hit you take by choosing to wait instead of buy. And it's made up of two really important parts. So here's the formula, and it's pretty straightforward. Your sideline cost is all the rent you paid plus all the home value appreciation you missed out on. Now, just think about that for a second. The rent you pay, that's a 100% guaranteed loss. It's money you will never, ever see again. And the appreciation you miss? Wow, that's a huge opportunity cost that just grows and grows over time. You can't get that back. And you know what? This simple formula is actually super conservative. We're not even counting stuff like the tax benefits you get as a homeowner, or, and this is a big one, the equity you're building with every single mortgage payment. So what that means is the real cost of waiting, it's probably even higher than what this formula shows. Okay, theory is great, but let's make this real. Let's look at an actual case study. We're going to rewind the clock and look at a property in Brea, California, from late 2017 to 2021. And we're going to calculate the exact sideline cost for someone who decided to rent during that time instead of buying this place. So back in late 2017, this house was valued at about $773,000. Let's say you decide to rent instead, for $3,000 a month. Well, after just 1 year, your sideline cost is already $59,000. Fast forward to 2019, and boom, it's almost $100,000. But look at how it starts to take off from there. By the end of 2020, it's over $200,000. And then, well, it gets even bigger. It hits a staggering $340,000 by September of 2021. I mean, let that sink in. $340,000. That was the total cumulative cost of just waiting on the sidelines for a little less than 4 years. That's the price you pay for trying to perfectly time that dip in the market. So let's break that number down. Where did it all come from? Well, about $138,000 of it was just rent payments. Poof, money gone forever. But the biggest chunk of that pie, over $200,000, was from the appreciation of the home that you missed out on. That was the real engine driving up that cost. And this really gets to the heart of it. This is the main takeaway. A lot of the time, gains in the housing market build up kind of quietly, and then they just accelerate fast. So if you wait until it's super obvious to everyone that prices are going up, guess what? You've probably already missed the biggest gains. The real benefit has already been snapped up by the people who were already in the market. But hang on. Remember how I said our formula was conservative? Well, there's another massive piece of this whole puzzle that our $340,000 number didn't even touch on, and that's the pure wealth-building power you get from actually owning the house. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. When you own a home, part of every single mortgage payment you make goes towards paying down your loan. You're basically converting what would be a rent check into actual equity, into something you own. Renters just don't get that benefit. So not only does your home appreciate, but it's appreciating on an asset that you own more and more of each month. It's a compounding effect that's just impossible to get when you're renting.
So, knowing all this, how should it change the way we think about buying a home? It really means we need to completely shift the question we're asking ourselves. It's not about trying to time the market, it's about evaluating your personal situation.
So instead of asking that impossible question, when is the perfect time to buy? We need to start asking a much more personal and much more practical question. And that is, what is my personal cost of waiting? What is the actual tangible financial price that I'm paying for every single month that I decide to stay on the sidelines? And really, that brings us to the final thought here. It's so easy to assume that waiting is the safe move, the prudent choice that keeps all your options open. But as we've just laid out, doing nothing, staying on the sidelines, has a very real and potentially very expensive price tag. So the question I want to leave you with is this: is playing it safe actually the biggest risk you can take?